As it is the court, my lord. Yesterday, I referred to a number of statements, my lord. I think some of which were already handed in as exhibits, particularly the one that I referred to of Ms. Zandi Kumalo. Now, the one that I referred to as statement number A113, the one that was penned by Longethwala, I did not request, my lord, that it be handed in as an exhibit, as well as the one that is numbered A57. It also slipped my mind that I should request that it be handed in an exhibit. May I therefore, with the leave of court, my lord, request that both statements be handed in as exhibits. The last statement, my lord, that I requested that it be handed in, I think it was Makumalo's statement, and it was Mark Triple V. Now, the first statement of Mr. Longethwala, Mark A113, I'm going to request that it should be marked. I don't know whether we're following Triple V, STUVX. Then we're going to mark it as triple X.
W, I think that will be triple W1. There's also the statement A9. I don't know whether it's not being headed up of long way.
Yes, my lords. A9 as well, yes. Let's start with A9.
Triple W1.
Oh, okay. Triple W1. A9, my lord, will then be marked triple W1. And then A11. Okay, let's go to A51. A57. 57 be marked as triple W2. And A113 be marked triple W in brackets 3, my lord. No, 106, it's I think it's a duplication of 113. Thank you, my lord. Please the court, my lord. Brigadier, yesterday, good morning.
Good morning, Advocate Minister.
Thank you. Before we adjourned, there was a question that I posed and the court wanted to clarify whether do I then request that you give an opinion in that regard. The question.
Isolo singahlukanike khona umbuzo engubuzile lapho enkantolo eveze ukuthi mina ngicela ukuthi ulibeke umbono wakho ngalokho.
Let me quickly go back to the question just to check your mind. The question was to the following effect.
Nawo-ke umbuzo wami.
Now, in view of, I actually wanted to know what would then be the relevance of your testimony in saying that, actually in bringing that kind of testimony before court, where you said that there were pictures that were found in the downloads of accused number 3's phone, as well as Wethu's phone and Kelly's phone. So, the gist of my question was, what was the relevance of that testimony of yours? That is
Lobufakazi babumelana nani lobufakazi bokuthi-ke unathola izithombe efonini kaMsolwa nefonini kaLongwe nefoni kaKelly Khumalo.
Similar pictures.
Izithombe ezifananayo.
Yes.
My Lord, as the statement indicates, it was to show the linkages. You know that there's linkages, or rather similar pictures as Advocate Mnisi says. That was the essence of it.
Cha ukuthi befuna ukukhombisa ukuthi khona ukuxhumana nokuthi khona izithombe ezingathi ziyafanana.
Now, are you then saying there could have been a leakage just simply because on the similarity of those photos? You're then saying that there could have been a linkage between Kelly Khumalo and accused number 3 and Longethwala, and there was also a linkage between Longethwala, Kelly Khumalo, and accused number 3. Is that what you're saying?
Manje kusho ukuthi ukhona yini ngaloko ukuthi khona izithombe engathi ziyafanana uchaza ukuthi kusho ukuthi khona ukuxhumana phakathi kaMsolwa wesithathu noLongethwala noKelly Khumalo.
My Lord, the court will recall that I said this was guided by the expert. This is now Colonel Stein, who informed me and then thereafter then showed me such in his affidavit. So I was moving in that precinct. He's the expert in this area, and that's what he established and then communicated to me, which then I utilized in my investigation when I applied for the warrants. I think it appears in a number of statements, such linkages, my Lord.
Lokho ke phela sasiholwa Colonel Stein uchwepheshe oyena ko wayengisiza ke ilokho agcina ke kusisizile ukuthi sifune nokukhipha namawarrant wakuyena owawuchwepheshe ngalokho.
Thank you. That being the case, as an investigating officer, would you then say, as an investigating officer, would you then say that that information that you got from Colonel Stein as you analyze the evidence, that evidence indicates, therefore, that accused number 3 was complicit in the commission of these offenses that is facing today?
Manje usho ukuthi lokho kuthole kuColonel Stein ikona kwaholela ukuthi uthi uMsolwa wesithathu yathinteka kuleli cala.
No, what I think, my Lord, indicates the suspicion of the involvement of accused 3 is the issues that I've dealt with. I've indicated, my Lord, the issues of the firearm, the issues of the dreadlocks, the issue of the clothing, you know, without repeating. These related really to linkages, my Lord. Because the court will recall, my Lord, after the statement of these accused 1 and 2 were obtained, where, and I've said this, my Lord, Miss Kelly Khumalo was identified as a trigger point. One needed to investigate the linkages, you know, whether you can confirm, you can corroborate what is being said by objective evidence. So this is one of the pieces of evidence that we found in terms of this bag of money that is appearing between her and accused number 3, my Lord.
Lezi thombe lezi njengoba besingichazile besichaza ukuthi umsolo wesithathu yena ukhumana kanjani nalabanye ngoba bengithela ukukhumana kuyabonakala ukuthi uyena wasusa yonke lento manje okusho ukuthi besifuna ukuzama ukukhombisa ukuthi baqhumana kanjani nalabo abanye nomsolo wesithathu.
So do I then understand you to say that despite those pictures being found in Kelly Khumalo's phone, similar pictures being found in Kelly Khumalo's phone, accused number 3's phone, and Longethwala's phone, that was just for purposes of investigation?
Manje ushuthi ke utholakala lezi zithombe efonini ka umsolo wesithathu efonini ka Kelly Khumalo nekalongethwala bekudingeka nje ukuthi nikwazi ukuphenya.
My Lord, investigation, as I've said yesterday, is a systematic way of finding the truth. That's what I was busy with at that stage, and that's what we found. And so are the other things that we discovered. So it was discovered during the investigation process. And the interest that sparked that desire or that interest to pursue that investigation was triggered by the confessions which were made by accused 1 and 2, where Miss Khumalo, was then mentioned. Now when her name is being mentioned, and it seems to be indicating that there is a communication between Ms. Khumalo and the perpetrators, as I've said, my Lord, you need to corroborate that evidence, and that is where now the search embarked on, and these discoveries were then discovered, my Lord. So it was not just an exercise that had no direction. It was to collaborate and find evidence if indeed it does exist.
Uphenya indlela ehlelekile yokuzama ukuthola ulwazi oluthize futhi ke ukutholakala kwalezi zithombe kwalezi zinto lezi kusuka lapha ekutheni sathi kwaphuma phela ukwamukela icala ngomsolo weqala nowesibili manje fanele sihlole ukuthi lokhu kusiholaphi ngoba ekwamukeleni kwabecala baliveza igama lika Kelly Khumalo manje sifanele sitholisise kahle ukuthi manje uKelly Khumalo uxhumana kanjani nomsolo wesithathu yikho ke manje bese sifuna ukuthi siveze sithole izinto ezisizayo ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi sibekise kahle ukuthi baxhumana kanjani.
Now let me put it this way, sir. In view of your explanation now, did you ever find a link between accused number 3 and Longethwala in view of those photos?
Manje lezi thombe zangisiza yini ukuthi nikwazi ukubona ukuthi baqhumana kanjani umsolo wesithathu noLongethwala?
My Lord, as I've explained, the linkages, the investigation of cell phones was led by Colonel Steyn, and according to his report and what he told me when I said the report, is that there was a linkages between the three in terms of these photos. This is Longethwala, accused 3, and Miss Kelly Khumalo. That's what was communicated to me, my Lord.
Manje njengoba bese ngishilo ke uKenneth Steyn uyena ke ucepheshe okahlaziya konke lokho akuphuma lapha emafonini uyena okwazi ukuthi agcine esize ukuthi sibone ukuthi khona ukuxhumana phakathi umsolo wesithathu noLongethwala noKelly Khumalo.
Thank you. Colonel Steyn came and testified here, but according to you, he told you that as a result of similar photos being found in the cell phone gadgets of these 3 people, then that proves linkage. Did he tell you how did that linkage happen? How except for the phones being found in their cell phones, similar photos being found in their cell phones, how did this linkage happen?
Manje uKenneth Steyn wangichazela ukuthi ngaphandle kwalezi zithombe ezatholakala emafonini abo ezifanayo wangichazela ukuthi lokuxhumana kwakwenzeka kanjani.
No, my Lord. He's an expert in his field. It's the same as you when you get a report from a ballistic expert. If he says there's a link, I can't say he must show me all the margins because I'm not an expert. Same with the fingerprint expert. You look for the results of their findings. So Colonel Steyn explained to me that there's a link and it is included in his statement, and I couldn't take it further than that. I don't think, my Lord, I had even expertise to actually ask him to take me through the details of it, my Lord.
uKenneth Steyn uyena ucepheshe nanoma esinikele umbiko kodwa ke akosho ukuthi umembikele ngifake ngibuze konke ngalombiko wakho ukuthi lokhu nalokhu kuhlangana kanjani. Mina ngithathe nje lokho ayengibikela kona ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana. Kuyafana nokuthi ochwepheshe ngokuhlola inhlamvu zebhama ngimbuza umese nginike umbiko ukuthi manje lo mugqa lona usho ukuthini lo mugqa lona usho ukuthini unginika nje umbiko uzokwazi ukuthi ungisize emsebenzini wami so ke akungadingi ukuthi angitshele konke lokho anginike kona ukuthi khona ukuxhumana bekulingene.
So I'm simply saying, my lord, I think Kenneth Stein, he'll be in a better position to explain those links because he's an expert, my lord.
Ngishoyo ukuthi uKenneth Stein uyena ongaba ngcono ukuthi alethe incazelo engcono ethe ukuthi iqaqa kancane ngoba uyena uchwepheshe kuloko.
Thank you. I recall that there was a point where you were requested by the court to read into record Colonel Stein's affidavit that was subsequent to me asking you, actually that was subsequent to you having said that Colonel Stein told you that there was a link between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo. Then I think I then objected. I'm just trying to give a background of that situation. I then objected, but then the court, in his discretion, then requested you to go to that specific aspect of the affidavit where Colonel Stein says that there's a linkage between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo. Do you still remember that scenario?
Sakhumbula yena ukuthi wacela ukuthi ufunde i-affidavit kaKenneth Stein echaza ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana phakathi umsolo wesithathu noKelly Khumalo. Inkantolo ke yagcina ke isithe hamba uye lapho kule lapho kubhalwe khona la kubonakala khona ukuthi ubhale echaza ukuthi kukhona lokuxhumana phakathi kwalabo ababili.
I do recall, my lord.
Yebo ngiyakhumbula.
Thank you. Now, the gist of that scenario was that you had mentioned that there was a communication between Kelly Khumalo and accused number 3, and that was on record. I just not so sure whether I brought that record. Let me just read it. May I be afforded an indulgence, but just to quickly look it up. Thank you. Yes. On the 8th of November 2024, when you were being cross-examined by Mr. Ramusipili, it was in the cross-examination of Mr. Ramusipili. This is what you said. I'm going to start to read from page 68. The transcribed record of the 8th of November 2024. I'm reading it from line 20, page 68. From line 20, page 68. This is what is happening. A question that came from Mr. Ramusipili, otherwise advocates evidence. Then the court comes in and says, Wait, I do not understand. You are asking a question. You are obliged to answer the question pertaining to your investigation. And then, Mr. Kininda, that's now yourself, yes, my lord. Then the court said, that is it, as you conducted it, so that the court can appreciate too. You cannot tell me that you disclose this piece of evidence, but you will not disclose this piece of evidence. What should I do about the rest of your evidence then? Then yourself, being Mr. Kininda, then respond. You say, I understand, my lord. My lord. So the other aspect that I did not touch on is that there is the report that I got, and it is contained in one of Colonel Stein's statements. There's a link between, let me say, communication between Ms. Kaylee Khumalo and accused number 3. In a nutshell, I just do not know how Colonel Stein phrased it, but he established a link between accused 3 and Kaylee Khumalo other than accused number 5. Then, Mr. Ramusipili, let us go to, and then myself, as it pleases the court, my lord, yeah. This is not an objection. That's now me saying that. This is not an objection, man. It is just a clarification. So the information relate, I need to understand it correct. So what Brigadier Kininda is saying there, the further information that is not disclosed to the court as per the indistinct, it is that the statement of Stein actually says that there was a link between accused 3 and Kaylee Khumalo. That is the information that I need, that it need not be disclosed to court, according to him. I just want to follow that statement. Then the court says, are you able to explain, sir? And then you yourself are saying, yes, my lord. What I can explain is that a statement that I saw, and if it needs be, we can get into it, and I can read it verbatim. There is the statement of Colonel Stein links accused number 3 with Ms. Kaylee Khumalo. That is the essence of it. As to how he puts these terms, that is the part that I do not want to misquote him. But what is clear is that there's a link with Ms. Kaylee Khumalo and accused number 3. Do you now follow?
My lord,
I'm sorry, maybe I need to give you this for an interpretation.
I think it can help.
Yes. I'm sorry, my lord. Let me just indicate where I started. Sorry. I just want to show where I started. I started line 20, and then I ended here, page 70, from 68 to page 7. Yeah, I started here, and then I ended up here. Yeah. As it is the court, man.
Kuthiwa ke lana ke uthi ke ubaba uRamsipili ufakazi balomunye uadvocate inkantolo ke yasithi awumaume kancane khona into engingayizwisisi la ubuze umbuzo ufanele ukuthi uphendule umbuzo mayelana nophenyo lwakho. Useyaphendula ke uKininda uthi yebo nkosi enkantolo. Emva kwalokho inkantolo yasithi yebo ilokho ukuthi wena wakhambisa kanjani ukuze inkantolo izozwisisa nayo ukuthi ubuchaza ukuthini. Awukazi ukungitshela ukuthi kukhona lokho ofuna ukuveza phambi kwenkantolo kodwa kukhona lo obunye ufakazi ongafuna ukuveza phambi kwenkantolo. Manje kufanele ngenzeni ke ngalobo obunye ufakazi bakho? BabuKininda wasethi ngiyakuzwisisa nkosenkantolo kodwa ke kukhona ke ezinye izinto engingazithintanga kule umbiko le engutholile lokho kukhona lapha embikweni kaColonel Steyn statementini sakhe kukhona ke lapho ethi khona kukhona ukuxhumana phakathi kaKhelukhumalo nomsolo wesithathu usho ukuthi ke kafushane ke angazi ukuthi uColonel Steyn wayibeka kanjani kodwa ke wakwazi ukuthi abeke ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana phakathi komsolo wesithathu noKhelukhumalo kusho ukuthi ke nanoma ke singamfaki lapho umsola wesihlanu kuqhubeka lapho wathi ke asithi uqhubeka phambili wathi uxolo kukhuluma ubaba Ramsipidi la and then ubaba Mnisi wasethi ke hayi ke njengoba ithanda inkantolo uqhubekela phambili inkantolo yasiyabuza ukuthi uthini emva kwalo ubaba Mnisi usethi ke cha angifuni ukuphikisa bengifuna nje ukuthi kube nencazelo ezwakalayo ukuthi ke kukhona ulwazi olwadluliswa ngifuna ukuzwisisa kona lokho ukuze uBrigadier Geninda lokakusho ukuthi kukhona ulwazi olunye oluqhubekela phambili olungazange livezwe enkantolo manje lapho kuyabonakala ukuthi achaza ukuthi kusho ngani kuthiwa ke maqhubekela phambili ithi ke ilesi statement sika Steyn esishoyo ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana phakathi komsolo wesithathu noKhelukhumalo kulolo ulwazi esifanele lulethwe la enkantolo njengoba ke yena ke echazile ngifuna ukulandelisisa kahle istatement ukuthi sisho ukuthini umnkosi enkantolo siyabuza ke ithi uyakwazi ukuchaza yini lokho Brigadier Geninda usiyaphendula uthi yebo nkosi enkantolo engingakuchaza nje ukuthi istatement leso ngasibona futhi ke uma kuukuthi kuyadingeka singayasotholakala lesi statement ngaphinde futhi ngisifunde kusho ukuthi ngisho istatement sika Colonel Steyn lapho ke siqhuma khona umsolo wesithathu noKhelukhumalo yikona ke nje ngifuna ukuchaza lokho and ukuthi ke wena wabeka kanjani lapha statementini sakhe okunye kwaloko engakwazi ukuthi engafisa ukuthi ngingakubeki ngendlela ezophikisana nalendlela ayibeke ngayo yena kodwa ke okukhona ukuthi ke kukhona ukuxhumana phakathi kaKhelukhumalo nomsolo wesithathu is the court pleases
my lord I think the record says exactly what I've been saying. It simply says that I've said there is a link, not a communication. I think where we seems to not to be finding each other with Advocate Mnisi is when he uses the term linkages. I mean, sorry, communication instead of linkages. And I've explained this again, my lord, yesterday, where I said, when we came to this exercise, it was arising from the questions that were coming from Mr. Ramsipili, where he was taking me through my statements. And when you go to the paragraph where I said, there is a link between Ms. Khelukhumalo and accused 3 and 5. He then asked me specifically, what linkages are you talking about? Not communication, linkages. And it arises from all the way down, my lord. So I've always said that it's linkages. And the exercise that we embarked upon on the statement of Colonel Steyn on page 41 proves exactly that, my lord, because it says link between targets. Ms. Khelukhumalo is there, but then there are various people that are there, including accused number 3, my lord.
Bengizama ukuchaza kuyabonakala lapha kulesa lokusanda ukufundwa kahle ukuthi mina ngithe kukhona ukuxhumana angishongo ukuthi kukhona ukukhulumisana engikushelo ukuthi kukhona nje ukuxhumana kuyabonakala kuyangasi ngoba ngaso sonke isikhathi mina mangikhuluma ngokuxhumana kuyakubekeke sengathi kuthiwa bekukhona ukukhulumisana into nje ebengichaza eyokuxhumana kungekona ukukhulumisana.
Thank you. I think it was a question of semantics. Now that you have explained it, it comes out very clear that it is basically a huge difference between communication and a link. You also mentioning that you were trying to explain that through the information that is contained on page 41 of Lieutenant Colonel Steyn. I would love us to go there. That is Exhibit 01.
Well, I don't have Exhibit 01, my lord.
Okay, thank you. We are going to assist you with it. Don't worry.
Yes, my lord.
Thank you. On page 41 on Exhibit 01.
Yes, I have it in front of me, my lord.
Yeah, to still remember that day as you were using that microscope, I even said that I'm unable to follow because the numbers here on this exhibit very small. Then I requested that it be beamed so that the accused can follow as well. I would also request the same indulgence, my lord.
I recall, my lord.
Thank you. My lord, there seems to be a technical glitch with the laptop. Apparently, it has frozen. It doesn't want to switch to on. Oh, okay. Where is that wire there? Thank you, sir. On page 41, there is this inscription there, page 41. I think it's really cool. Yeah. Thank you. Now, I don't want to lead you in respect of the linkage that you say Stein said it was there between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo. Now, that is this. What Stein that is what is contained in Stein affidavit in page 41 of his affidavit. That's now exhibit 01. Now, those are the links between the target. As you go down that page 41, Stein then explains what is represented, what is contained in that diagram, schematic diagram there. But I'm not so sure whether you're able to relate what you're saying, that Stein told you that there was a link between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo in relation to what is contained in his affidavit. If you're able to do so, then you may proceed.
Kukhona lo mdwebo olapha ekhasini leka 41 la eza kukhonjwa khona ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana phakathi koKelly Khumalo nomsolo wesithathu kule affidavit ka Colonel Stein. Kodwa ngicela ukuthi ke wena ungichazele kabanzana ukuthi lokuxhumana kwenzeka kanjani.
My lord, no, I can't. I'm not an expert, and that is why I said this right from the beginning, that I'm very cautious of trying to interpret this document because I'm not qualified to do so.
Angeke ngikwazi ukwenza lokho ngoba ngiyena uchwepheshe. Yikho ngithi mina okudinga uchwepheshe ukuthi azosichazela ngalokho ngoba mina anginalo ulwazi olulingene ukuthi ngakwazi ukuthi ngichaze.
All I said, my lord, is that he gave me a report, and the report that he gave me, then he showed me in a statement, and it is here, links to targets. That's how far I can take it. In terms of interpretation, I'll be venturing in a terrain that I'm not qualified to do so, my lord.
Anginika kona mina wanginika umbiko ochazayo ukuthi kuxhumana ngikhombisa ukukhona ukuxhumana phakathi kwaloku naloku ukuthi ke kwenzeka kanjani. Hayi lapho ke angeke ngakwazi ukuthi ngichaze ngoba angiyena uchwepheshe.
Let me help you, sir. On page 41, it says links between the target, and there's this diagrammatic representation there. And then as you go down, it gives the analysis of what is represented in that diagram there. May we kindly please go down to the analysis? Or in other words, it's an analysis or a summary or information that is contained in the diagram in word form. Now, the first point says there's a contact between Kelly Khumalo, and then it lists that number and another cell phone number that allegedly belongs to Fisokuhle Ntuli Etinkani, not so. Do you see that?
Uyabona yini ukuthi khona la akhombisa khona ukuthi khona ukuthintana phakathi kwefoni kaKelly Khumalo nale kuthiwa ifoni kaFisokuhle Ntuli.
Do you see that?
My lord, I see that, but my difficulty with this, there is no heading or a sentence that says these bullet forms are interpreting what is contained above. And this is why I'm saying I don't want to venture into this, because then I'm being asked to speculate what these bullet forms are talking to in relation to this spider web. I am not the author of this, my lord, and otherwise then we'll be speculating and we might find ourselves not agreeing with Advocate Mnisi. Colonel Stein, I think, will be in a better position to deal with this document because he's the author. I was simply proving that what I was saying when I said there was a link, and I got a report from Colonel Stein. Here is it, it is documented. The interpretation of this, my lord, Colonel Stein is more qualified to deal with this part, my lord.
Mana sathi Colonel Stein uyena ongakwazi ukuchaza kabanzana ukuthi lokho akubhalile lapha ezama ukuchaza ukuthi kwenzekani lapha kulo mdwebo lo uyena ongachaza ngcono ukuthi kusho ukuthini lo mina ngiyena uchwepheshe mina ngathola umbiko nje ochazayo ukuthi kwaba nokuxhumana ukudlula kuloko angikwazi ukuthi ngase ngoba ngizobe ngiqagela phela mase ngenza kanjalo.
Thank you, sir. What I am putting to you is exactly what Colonel Steyn said. Colonel Steyn said those bullet points represent an interpretation of what is contained in the diagrammatic representation there. So this is no speculation, that's what he said. Now, you are telling this court that he told you that there was a link between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo. And that is found in this link between the targets. Now I want us to go through that exercise to confirm what Colonel Steyn told you about the link that was between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo by using this information in his affidavit.
So for us,
as a court, please, Manot, I think my learned friend has sufficiently threshed out this issue, not only today, but also on Wednesday, just before we adjourned. The witness has said that Colonel Steyn's evidence is on record. I don't know whether counsel wants now Brigadier Gilina to interpret the evidence of Colonel Steyn. It is on record. It's now for the parties to argue that point, to see if there's support for the evidence of Brigadier Gilina. But it cannot be expected of him now to try and interpret the evidence of Colonel Steyn. He has repeatedly said he's not an expert. Colonel Steyn, he's the one who's an expert, and he has testified about these issues. We submit, my lord, that it's an unfair question to Brigadier Gilina to keep on probing him on the same issues, in respect of which he's already said he's not an expert.
As it please the court, my lord. This is not about interpretation. It is what is contained in Colonel Steyn's affidavit as raw as is. I'm not requesting this witness to interpret what is contained in Colonel Steyn's affidavit. I'm simply requesting him to read what Colonel Steyn is saying in his affidavit, whether, having read that, he is able to identify what he claims to have been said to him by Colonel Steyn, that there was a link between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo. In other words, I am trying to assist this witness to find a collaboration, using his term, between what he was told by Mr. Steyn and what Mr. Steyn says in his affidavit. This is more to help him than to help me. I am trying to do that. I'm trying to help the state, just to find a collaboration.
This is clear.
Yes,
he says he's not an expert, and that document was drafted by Colonel Steyn, who is the expert.
Yes, ma'am.
And he says he doesn't want to speculate. But you, Mr. Nisi, you,
yes,
and together with your learned colleagues,
yes,
you persistently told this witness, don't venture into the field. You are not an expert. When he tried to explain, for instance, about the DNA evidence,
Correct,
you told him, you're not an expert, it's not your job.
I remember, my
Yeah,
lord.
you told him
Actually,
that.
he was
Now you're saying,
that.
now he must do the same very job of when you told him that he's not an expert. He mustn't venture. It's not his duty. His duty is just to present evidence.
Yes.
And that's it. Now he says he's not able to read that document because it involves expertise.
I see,
by
my lord.
Steyn.
But, my lord.
Let's have progress, because he says he can't. And you are saying you are helping him.
Yes, to help himself. I'm not saying to this witness, man, can you please explain to me what is happening here? I am saying to him, can you please read this, what is contained in Colonel Stein's affidavit? I'm not requesting him to give an opinion, to make conclusions, to draw inferences. No, I'm simply requesting him to read this as raw as is, man. Yeah. I'm reminded, my lord, by my colleague, Mr. Ramusipeli, that on the same vein, that it would be argued that this witness cannot read this into the record because he's not an expert. Mr. Ramusipeli reminds me that at one point or the other during the proceedings in this matter, the witness was requested to read into record certain portions of the expert evidence in relation to the DNA. Now, I find it a little bit odd for this witness to come and say, no, I can't read that because I'm not an expert. He should have said the very same thing when he was requested to read to record the DNA results. And Mr. Ramusipili likes to say what is good for the gander should also be good for the goose. Whatever that means, it might mean what should then be happening here, my lord. But nonetheless, my lord, I understand the court to have ruled that this witness is not in a position to read into record here because of fear of speculation. I respectfully respect that ruling, my lord. Thank you, Brigadier Kininda. Let's proceed, but still on the same point. In the testimony of Mr. In the testimony of Colonel Stein, there was no information because he based every aspect of his evidence on what is contained in this affidavit. Nothing came out when he said that there was a link between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo. If it told you that, then it was very disingenuous of him to have told you that, knowing that that is not contained in his affidavit. Do you understand?
Ubufakazi bukaColonel Stein akukho lutho olutholakala lapha ku-affidavit yakhe oluchaza ukuthi ukuxhumana kukaKelly Khumalo nomsola wesithathu kuza kanjani.
My lord, I was not here when Colonel Stein testified. What I'm saying, and this is what I said the last time, my lord, when we were dealing with page 41, I referred not to bullet points. The report I got from Colonel Stein directed me to the spider web, and that's what I read the last time when it was beamed on the screen. And it is clear that the heading reads links between targets. Yes. Miss Kelly Khumalo is there. If you go down the web, you see the contact numbers of accused number 3. He's mentioned and even the number. That's how far I can take it. And to say, my lord, I cannot read the document, there's a difference between reading and interpreting. I can read, I said I don't have expertise to interpret what is contained here. That's why I said Colonel Stein is best vested with the abilities to deal with this part, my lord.
Thank you, sir.
Akukho ke lana engingakuchaza kabanzana ngoba ngalokuxhumana phakathi ngoba mina engakwenza nje ukuthi mina ngavele ngasenzisa lo mdwebo lapha ngakukhombisa la kuthiwa khona ukuxhumana phakathi kweinamba ezithize nenamba yomsolo wesithathu nayo iyavela lapha. Kodwa ke mina la engafinyelela khona ukutheni ngafunda nje kuphela, angeke ngikwazi ukuchaza lokho engikufundayo. Kodwa ngakufunda lokho obukhona lapha kumbiko kaColonel Stein. uColonel Stein yena ongakwazi ukuthi achaze kangconywana ukuthi bezizama ukuthini.
Thank you, sir. For the sake of completeness, this is what Colonel Stein said on page 41. he said he was able to identify that there was a contact between Kelly Khumalo and Fisokuhle Nkani, and that is contained in the document, and he lists their cell phone numbers. That's number one. Number two, he says there was a communication between Fisokuhle Ntuli, in bracket Nkani, and Mthobisi Gadla Mncube. He also lists their cell phone numbers. Number three, he says there was a communication between Mthobisi Gadla Mncube, Carlos, Carlos, and Mabungu Ntuli. That is bullet number 3. Bullet number 4, he says he was able to identify, when he analyzed the calls or the phones or the information, the 205 information that was handed to him by you, that there was a communication between Mabungu Ntuli, in brackets 2, and Bongani Sandiso Ntanzi. He also listed their cell phone numbers. Bullet number 5, he says he was also able to find that there was a communication between Fisokuhle Ntuli, alias Nkani, and Muzika Ukhalelwa September Sibiya, who's accused number 1, also known as Muzi Stroke Ndo. That is his information relating to that diagrammatic representation. And as I read this, there's nowhere where he says, I was able also to find a link, just to avoid using the word communication, to find a link between Mthobisi Mncube, that is accused number 3, and Kelly Khumalo. Do you follow?
Lana uthe ukwazile ukuthi akhombise kubullet yakhe yokuqala ukuthi akhombise ukuxhumana kwabantu ukuthi khona ama contact amathathu akhona lapho axhumanayo. Wesibili wasekhuluma ngokukhuluma phakathi kokuSofisokuhle Ntuli noGadla, waqhubeka wathi khona la ekhuluma khona uGadla Mncube noma Gungu Ntuli. Point yesine ukuthi wakwazi ukukhombisa ukuthi uMagungu wakwazi ukukhuluma noBongani, and kwase kubullet yesithathu owesihlanu wasekhombisa ukuthi kwakhona ukukhulumisana phakathi kwaFisokuhle Ntuli noSibiya, kodwa kukho la ekhombisa khona ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana phakathi kukaMsolwa wesithathu nabanye.
My Lord, as I've said, and I think I dealt with this part, where I said my understanding there's a difference between linkages and communication. The bullet points that have been read refers to communication. And I've explained, my Lord, that my understanding of the report I got referred to linkages. And that is why, my Lord, I said the best person who can deal with this is really Colonel Steyn. Because if you look at the diagram above, where he says links to target, the number of Miss Kelly Khumalo appears and the number of accused appears. But I'm not an expert to refer to, to interpret this. And he says links. Bullet points that are read to me refers to communication, and understand communication to be a call, whether received or made or whatever forms of communication direct. I understand links differently, but as I've said, my Lord, I'm not an expert, because I'll end up now misinterpreting this document, speculating where I was told I should not speculate in areas where I'm not an expert, and I would like to leave it at that, my Lord. As I said, Colonel Steyn can interpret this document. All I said, after he gave me the report, it is contained in this exhibit, because there is a clear, it's even bolded, my Lord, links between targets. Miss Kelly Khumalo is there and accused number 3 is there. If there's a dispute that what is contained here is not links, then Colonel Steyn can be in a better position to explain that, my Lord.
Njengoba bese ngishilo-ke nangaphambili ukuthi khona umehluko phakathi ukuxhumana nokukhulumisana. ngoba mina indlela engiyizwisisa ngayo lento ukuthi uma kuthiwa i-communication noma ukukhulumisana kusho ukuthi-ke kukhona oshaya ucingo wathintana nomunye ngocingo kodwa-ke lapha kuleyo mdwebo lokhona lapha kuyabonakala ukuthi ngoba phela bekukhulunywa ngokuxhumana kuphela kodwa kuyabonakala ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana okukhona futhi kuyabonakala ukuthi nalimugqa lo obhaliwe lapha ukhombisa lo ukuxhumana uyabona ukuthi ubhalwe wazwagcizelelo ngoba kufuna kubonakale kahle ukuthi uzama ukuchaza ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana ngoba ilona ifoni kaMsolo wesithathu iyakhonjiswa lana nesifoni kakhe likhumana iyakhonjiswa lapha kodwa-ke mina angeke ngakwazi ukuthi ngiqhubekele phambili ngithi ngiyazama ukuletha incazelo ezozwakala ngoba ngizogcina ngiqagela ingcono kubizwe uchwepheshe okuyena ongakwazi ukuchaza.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Brigadier. Now, you, subsequent to taking over of the investigation by you, you requested that accused number 3's cell phone should be downloaded, and subsequent to that too, that was done. And there were pictures that are shown in those downloads of him wearing certain clothes on the 26th of October 2014. We have seen that many times here at court, not so?
Lapha-ke emva ukuthi uthathe kube wena oqhubeka nalo msebenzi lo ukuphenya wacela ukuthi akudownload ifoni kaMsolo wesithathu nekulezi ithombe-ke ezaphuma lapho khomba isithombe othi kuthiwa sikamhla 26 ku-October 2014 lapho egqoke izembatho ezithize.
Yes, when I was present, my Lord, giving testimony, I've seen those pictures. When I was not, obviously, but I've got no doubt, as Advocate Nisi is saying, that they may have been shown on numerous occasions, but I wouldn't know, I was not here. I can only refer to instances when I was in court, my Lord.
Ngangingekho enkantolo ngesikhathi kukhonjiswa lezi zinto enkantolo kodwa ngiyethemba ukuthi uba umnisi lezi zinto akhuluma ngazo zikhona angakwazi ukuzikhombisa.
Yeah, I'm referring to Exhibit S. I'm referring to Exhibit S. Thank you. I'm referring to Exhibit S. We can go to page 12 of Exhibit S. Page 12, 17 will do as well, but let's go to page 12.
Yes,
Thank you.
I have it in front of me, my Lord.
Thank you. Now, one of the reasons why you say after the confession, after you found the content of the confession allegedly made by accused number 2, you were then you then formulated a viewpoint. I don't want to say you're satisfied. You then formulated a viewpoint that because the witnesses in the house identify the gun toter as somebody who was wearing a beige top, then you had a look at these pictures and then you got you formulated a view that that could have been accused number 3. Did I understand you to mean that?
Emva kokuthi ke utholeke i-confession yomsolo wesibili nokuthi ulaleleke ubufakazi nolwazi walinika abasolwa nalokho okusho ofakazi ababengaphakathi endlini ukuthi umsolwa lo wayephethe isibhamu wayephethe ke wayegqoka ingubo enjani nowakubona lapha ethombeni kusho ukuthi lokho wakhola umsolwa wesithathu.
So my lord, the witnesses, yes, so what I found, so I will regard this as one of the collaborations that I found, that was that, but it was a number of items or points that one found insofar as accused number 3. But insofar as clothing is concerned, other witnesses are saying beige or brown jacket and others are specific to say it was a khaki top. So yes, when I found this picture, I viewed this top, my lord, as a top and khaki, because there are other pictures where you can see accused 3 almost from the top to the bottom, where you can see that this is actually a top and there's a trouser underneath.
Ubufakazi obuningi obukhona esasebhekile akubona bodwa lokhu ubufakazi bodwa obasikhomba ngobunye nje bufakazi esabusebenzisa ukuthi zisikwazi ukufinyelela lesinqumo sokuthi uyasoleka umsolo wesithathu. Kodwa ke futhi kukhona nabanye abafeza phela umbala, abanye babethu beige, abanye biza eminye imbala, kodwa ke kukhona abagcina bethi cha lento ayigqokile top ewukhakhi kodwa ke sikhona ezinye izithombe engazibheka ngathi mangibheka ngabona ukuthi lana cha itop kukhona la ifike iphelele khona uma usubona isithombe somuntu esiphelele kuyabonakala ukuthi lento le esibhekile lana kwakuyitop.
Thank you. Now, having received the information as contained in Exhibit S, which is in the form of these pictures that are depicting what accused number 3 is wearing in those pictures, did you go back to the witnesses who were in the house, who are describing what he was wearing, to them to find out if what is depicted in Exhibit S, in the photos in Exhibit S, which depict what accused number 3 is wearing, to find out if this is what they saw on the day in question?
Manje ke lapha ke emva ukuthi uthole ulwazi oluthola ngomsolo wesithathu nezithombe kwazikhipha lapha efonini yakho wambona waphinde wabuyela yini kuba kufakazi laba abakutshela ukuthi wayegqoke kanjani lo muntu abambona waphinde waphiyela yini kubona bakhombisa izithombe wathi na iyona yini lento enayibona?
No, my lord, but that point goes back to what we dealt with Advocate Mnisi, with the issue of an identity parade. Court will recall, my lord, that I said after the confessions were received from both accused, the name of Ms. Kelly Kumalo as a trigger point came in. Now, while you investigate, obviously, the people who are implicated, in that investigation, I also had to investigate the people who were inside the house to see if you can find a collaboration. You cannot now, sitting with that information that implicates, for example, Ms. Kelly Kumalo, and you run to her when you have not exhausted as to whether she's involved or not. You can't, my lord. That's not how it's done. So there was an investigation that needed to be done insofar as the people who were inside the house to see if, other than Ms. Kelly Kumalo is being mentioned, there are collaborations that you can find to exclude or to include them if they were involved or otherwise, my lord. So that was not done, and I think the exercise is because there was an investigation to establish whether there were links with Ms. Kelly Kumalo, but not only her, as to whether maybe other people who were inside the house could have played a role you know, with a common understanding of executing this offense. So that took time. By the time then we were exhausted and satisfied that these are the people we can rely on, that is when now the approach to Mr. Mthokozisi Twala and Tumelo Madlala then kicked in, my lord. So this was not done, and those were the reason why it was not done, my lord.
Lokho engizamchaza ukuthi lapha ku ID parade kukhona okwavela khona ngoba eqhubekeni nokuthi siphenge kwavela negama lika Ken Khumalo, and futhi ke thina ke sasizama ukuthi nanoma sisitholile ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana noKhen Khumalo, sasifanele sitholisise ukuthi lokho kuxhumana ngaliphi ngoba ababekhona endlini sasingezivele sithathe ngokuthi bayathinteka noma lalabo abanye bayathinteka noma bathintekile. Okufanele kube nophenyo oluphelele oluzozama ukuveza ukuthi bangena kanjani kule ndaba.
Yes, my lord, that's my answer.
Thank you, my lord. My lord, realize that we left with a minute or two before we go for a short adjournment. I would request that we adjourn such and then we'll proceed after the short adjournment. It's 13 minutes past 11.
Okay, so
thank you, madam.
15 minutes. Yes.
Is it still the court, my lord?
Yes.
Brigadier, you saying one of the pointers that accused number 3, or let me say according to you, one of the many pointers that accused number 3 was involved in the commission, or actually was the trigger man, is because of the fact that he was wearing a top that was beige or khaki or cream white in color.
Manje ukuthi ke wena ke engeke izinkomba ke esikhombisa ukuthi umsolo wesithathu uyena owayephethe isibhamu ukuthi wayegqoke i-top lena ekuthiwa umbala wayo uyi-beige.
So I'm saying, my lord, if you look at, maybe let me explain it from the beginning so that we are clear. If you look at the statements of the people who were inside the house, they said the person, and that is why I refer to the description they give, that the person who was armed with a firearm and who had a struggle with the deceased, they described that person of having a dreadlocks and then wearing, others are saying beige, brown, or khaki jacket. You know, you get different description. And I'm saying, if you look at this photo number 12, there was that collaboration in that regard in terms of the khaki jacket. So so that's what I said before we adjourn for tea time.
Manje ke engizama ukuchaza ke ilokhu ukuthi labantu ke ababese i-statement zalabantu laba ababesendlini nabasho ukuthi ubani lo wayephethe isibhamu nalo owahelezisana nokubambana nomufi ilona owayenama dreadlocks futhi nowayegqoke leli bhantshi leli elukhakhi njengoba kubona angithi leli bhantshi ilona lelibonakala esithombeni unumber 12 so uthi umuntu lapho ugqoke ibhantshi elukhakhi.
Thank you, Brigadier. You just indicated that you never went back to the witnesses after receipt of these photos to confirm with them what is depicted on these photos, not so?
No, I didn't, my lord.
So sangiphindele kubofakazi laba ukuthi uyoqinisekisa lokho abebekusho usuphethe lezi itho bathi cha angizange ngiye.
Thank you, Brigadier. So that basically means that you never went back to them and asked them what kind of a jacket that he was wearing, whether it was a sweater, whether it was a lumber, whether it was a formal jacket, whether it was a hoodie, whether it was a leather jacket, etc., etc. Never went back to find out from them, when you're saying a jacket, what kind of a jacket was it? Not so.
kusho ukuthi awuzange uphindele kubona labantu wayobabuza ukuthi lento oyigqokile kwakuyijezi noma kwakuyilamba noma kwakuyibhantshi noma kwakuyibhantshi elenziwe ngesikhumba leyo jwayele kuthiwa uyileather. Kusho awuzange uphindele wayoqinisekisa lo.
My Lord, as I've said, perhaps that question, I've said, yes, I didn't go back to them. But one needs to look at the investigation that we're embarking on in its entirety, not in isolation. There were already statements, and some of the witnesses gave more than one statement, describing clearly, my Lord, what was the intruder wearing. I come in on board to take over this investigation in 2018, where I'm assigned to lead. I have all the facts before me in terms of what is contained in the statement. But in addition, when now the focus is now on the 5 accused, I already have, particularly when we're dealing with accused number 3, a confession, my Lord, HH1 and JJ1. So you get that collaboration. So it's not an isolated. I'm getting this question to be saying, for example, my Lord, if it was an early stage where I'm an initial investigator, and now this accused person, suspect, is then or becomes on our line of sight, yes, I think then you will embark on the approach that Advocate Mnisi is asking me. But it's different where I came in. It was 2018, 6 years later. There were statements made by the people who were inside their house explaining how the intruders were dressed. But further to that, my Lord, you now had exhibit HA, HH, and JJ implicating all the 5 accused, including accused 3.
Uma ufuna ukuyizwisisa kahle le ndaba ufanele ubheke konke ngoba ufanele sibheke uphenyo lonke singabheki nje izinto ezithini ngoba phela njengoba ngisho nje bese kukhona nestatement ezalethwa ezichazayo ukuthi kwenzekani ngalolu suku. Manje kufanele ubheke konke ukuthi yini eyabekwa yini esayithola ngoba emva mase mina sengena lapha kwasekukhona nane statement sokwamukela icala esasikhona. So ukwazi ukuthi uvele uthatha into eyodwa ucaphuna into eyodwa nje ngoba mina ngathatha lolu phenyo ngo-2018 sekudlule iminyaka eyisithupha. Manje ke zasizikhona ney'statement zonke ezichazayo kodwa okunye okusemqoka la ukuthi ke kwase kukhona ke nokwamukela icala lapha ku-HA no JJ.
But furthermore, my Lord, one will remember that the issue of identification once happened, where we dealt with it yesterday, where someone was identified, arrested, and later found to be a wrong person. I don't think it would have been a wise decision for me to follow that same route, where now, because someone says this is a person, now you want to go to those people. By the way, you were still under investigation in order to collaborate or dispute what was being said. And now you follow that same route of using the ID parade, my Lord. It's not the option that I would have followed, my Lord.
Futhi ke uqhubekela phambili ukuthi angithi kwase kukhona nomuntu owayekhonjiwe waseboshwa kwagcina sekutholakala ukuthi lo muntu kwakungeyena. Manje ngibona ngathi kwakungeke kulungu ukuthi nami ngivele ngilandele le ndlela le yokuphenya ababeyenzile yokuthi basenzise ID parade ngoba kuyabonakala ukuthi ibingengisize kakhulu.
And I'm saying at this stage, my Lord, when this album was made available to me, my Lord.
Ngisho ukuthi ngalesi sikhathi ke i-album lena ingase ngikwazi ukuyifinyelela.
That's my answer, my Lord.
Thank you. Thank you, Brigadier. One of the witnesses who was in the house described the kind of a jacket that the gun toter had as a jacket with a woolen collar. I'm not so sure whether you are aware of that description.
Noma yazi yini ukuthi kukhona omunye ofakazi ababelapha endlini owathi umechaza ke i-top noma ibhantshi leligqoke ilo kuthiwa wayephethe isibhamu uthi ke la ngenhla kwayo kukhona ke into engathi yenziwe ngovolo iwuli ngesilungu.
My Lord, although I cannot paste the exact statement, I seem to recall that I may have come across such, my Lord, and that is why I said some were even saying beige, brown, but others were saying khaki. That is why I'm saying, my lord, when you look at the description, you need to look at the evidence holistically. So you don't look, if you look at one puzzle, you may not find what we found at the end. So it's one puzzle, but you investigate. And as you investigate, you get corroborating evidence that gives a clear picture at the end of the day. But yes, when you look at the description that was given by the people who were inside the house, even the color, my lord, is not consistent. Not all of them are saying khaki. Others are saying brown, beige. Then you get khaki, and then possibly what Advocate Nisi is saying. But at the end of the day, when sight was set on this accused, my lord, corroborating evidence other than the color was then found. And I've mentioned some of the things that we found other than the top that is wearing, my lord.
Yebo, ngiyakuzwa lokho kodwa ke kuningi obekufanele kubhekwe ngoba phela ofakazi mabelethe ubufakazi kukhona la uthola khona ukuthi bayehluka, omunye wathi mechaza lo mbala lo wamuthi ubeige, omunye athi ubrown, omunye athi ukhaki. Manje kufanele ufune nezinye izinto ezingakwazi ukuthi zisize ukuthi zilethe isithombe esiphelele so ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sitholisise kahle ukuthi lo muntu lona impeleni kwakuumuntu onjani. Ngeke sivele nje sithi no sizothatha lo mbala noma sithathe lo mbala ngoba ke kugcina ke kutholakala ukuthi abantu babona ngendlela ezehlukene ezingakwazi ukuthi zigcine zikhiphe umbala wodwa. Manje kufanele ukuthi sithole nezinye izinto esizokwazi ukuthi zilekelele ubufakazi esibutholayo.
But furthermore, my lord, one should not also be ignorant of the assertion that was made by JJ1 and HH and JJ. One could not be ignorant of that fact that if that assertion is correct to say the trigger point is the person mentioned there, then one needs to be cautious of what that person says when he speaks to the police.
And futhi ke uqhubekela phambili asikwazi ukuthi sizibe lo okulapha ku JJ na ku HA ukuthi nokuthi ke sifanele sibheke ukuthi yini le ayisho lona umese iyotshela amaphoyisa.
Yes, my lord, that's my answer.
Thank you. A very quick one on your constant reference to Exhibit HH and JJ. As this was a prosecutor-led investigation, I have reasons to believe that it must have been brought to your attention that there are rules that are governing the applicability, there are rules of law that are governing the applicability of the operation of a confession insofar as co-perpetrators are concerned, not so?
Masibuyela ke lapha ku HH lo JJ njengoba ushilo ukuthi kowayehola uphenyo kakhulu kwaku umshushisi angazi noma yazini ukuthi kukhona imithetho imigomo nemibandela esetshenziswayo mayelana nokuthathwa ke kwezitatimende zokwamukela icala.
My lord, we didn't get there and I don't think it was necessary. I am aware that you can't use the confession, for example, of accused 2. It can't be admissible on the other accused, that I'm aware. But it does not mean, my lord, you cannot collaborate and follow what is mentioned in that confession. That's a different approach, my lord.
Ngiyazi ukuthi ke kukhona imithetho elandelwayo njengokuthi ke awukwazi ukuthi uthathe istatement sikamsolo wesibili sokwamukela icala ebese ke usisebenzisa kulabanye abasolo kodwa ke akusho ukuthi sifanele siqhubeke sizibe okwashiwo noma kwavela kuleso statement kodwa ke kufanele siqhubekele phambili siphenye ukuthi lokho kushiwo lapha kungaba yilo yini iqiniso.
Thank you, Brigadier. Brigadier, you would also agree with me that that garment, I'll refer to it as a garment, that is depicted in photo number 12 of Exhibit O. And yes, that also depicts it being worn by accused number 3. It could not have been the only garment that was produced in the market of clothes, which is of a similar nature, not so?
Kusho nje amasibheka ke lento egqokwe lapha ethombeni lapha isithombe 12 egqoke umsolo wesithathu akuyona into eyenzwa iyodwa vo ilaba abathungayo bakhona nezinye ezathungwa sadayiswa kunjalo.
I don't have stats with me, my lord, but common sense will tell me that it cannot be the only one. They would have manufactured, I think, perhaps even different sizes of this. But that is that's not a point of what we relied on when we investigated. A certain color of a top, my lord, which was worn by the perpetrator that had a firearm, was mentioned. And in addition to that, the issue of dreadlocks was mentioned. In addition to that, my lord, you get then other corroborating evidence in terms of statements that we've obtained. Advocate Nis is aware of that, and that is why I also referred to JJ and HH. When you take that, my lord, it drives you to say this corroborates with what was said in addition by the witnesses who were inside the house. So you can't take it alone and say this is the color, because it's not a standalone piece of evidence, my lord. It's supported by the other evidence.
Yebo, umbala ke into statistics yachaza ukuthi into ayikwazi ukwakhiwa iyodwa. Ngiyacabanga futhi ukuthi wathi nje uma bakhale lento yayigqoke umsolwa bangaba bezakhe zaphu kwaba no size abehlukile and futhi iningi la edayiswa khona. Kodwa ke asibhekanga kuphela umbala walento ebegqokwe ilokuthiwa iphethe isibhamu. Sabheka nokunye futhi nokuthi kwakhona nalokho kwama dreadlocks. Saphinde sahamba nakobunye ubufakazi esibutholayo nezitatimende njengoba ke ngimphathile uHA noJJ. Kodwa ke into semqoka ukuthi sasizama ukuthi sithole ukuthi bobufakazi lobo butholakalayo noma izinto esizitholayo zikwazi ukuthi zivumelane zikhasane ekusiletheneni isithombe esokuthi kungabe kubani.
Yes, my lord, that's my answer.
Thank you, brother. I quite agree with you there. I think you're referring to the totality or the cumulative effect of factors that you had to consider. I quite agree with you on that one. Thank you. Now, in the same vein, that people in the house said that the guntoter had dreadlocks, you would agree with me that so many people out there do wear dreadlocks, not so?
Ngivumelana nawe ke nokuthi ufanele uthi umasibheka sibheke ubufakazi obuphelele bubonke. Kodwa ke ngicela ukuthi ke ngibuze ukuthi siyavumelana yini nokuthi ke baningi abantu ababa nama dreadlocks.
My lord, we totally agree that there are many out there. However, I don't have any other of those people whom it is alleged on Cleveland 9/6 of 2015 that he was found in possession of a certain firearm, and that firearm was then linked to the bullet that was discharged at this crime scene. The only person that has been linked to that firearm is accused number 3.
Yebo ngiyavuma, kodwa ke akubona bonke labantu abanama dreadlocks engathiwa batholakala benesibhamu, and isibhamu sikwazi ukuthi siqhunywe nale zinhlamvu ezatholakala endaweni yesigameko umsolwa wesithathu kuphela kanjani.
Thank you. Now, that statement that it was accused number 3 who got in, was found in possession of the firearm that was allegedly linked with the scene, that is your contrition, not so? As when you investigated this matter, not so?
That is not correct. We have Sergeant Dlamini and Masondo who testified, as well as Lieutenant Colonel Mangena. In other words, it's not the opinion of this witness.
As it is the court, my lord, the court would remember that on the previous occasion in this very same trial, when the same statement was made, I cautioned this witness that that determination as to who was in possession of that firearm is yet to be made by this court. So for this witness to say it was accused person who was found in possession of this firearm is a bit misplaced, because finally that determination has got to be made by this court, which is the reason why I am saying to him, based on his investigation, it was accused number 3 that allegedly was found in possession of that firearm. We're still busy with allegations now. That is basically my line of cross-examination on this witness.
My colleague reminds me that Advocate Misi did admit that that firearm belongs to accused number 3. We're trying to find that relevant portion in the record.
That is again misplaced, my lord. Whether or not the firearm that was found in possession of accused number 3 is the firearm that is linked with the scene where Senzo Meyiwa was killed, it's a factor that will ultimately have to be decided upon by this court after hearing evidence. So it can thus not be simply said that because that firearm was allegedly found in possession of accused number 3, then all of a sudden, even before the court makes a finding, then we are speaking of the fact that that firearm is the one that is linked with the sin. I think that is where me and the state and everybody that represents the state differ in terms of what the law says, my lord. We cannot, right in the midst of a trial, state it as a matter of a fact that it is this firearm that was linked with the sin, when that aspect is still being investigated and it has to be decided at the end of it all, my lord. That is where my point is.
Well, without belaboring the point, the witness says that's what the evidence so far has established. You know, there's nothing wrong in the witness advancing that, you know, that proposition that the evidence establishes that a firearm was found in accused number 3's possession. That firearm is linked to a fired bullet that was found on the scene, according to the evidence of Lieutenant Colonel Mangena. There's nothing wrong in that one.
That is argument, my lord. That is the argument that me and the state will have to come and present to the court with a view to try and with a view to try and convince the court whether or not it is that firearm. The state is going to come and say the court should find that it is that firearm, and I'll be standing here trying to convince the court that it is not that firearm, my lord, despite the fact that it could have been found in possession of accused. So, but the issue is to say now, in the middle of the determination, in the middle of advancing evidence, therefore we should then conclude that it is that firearm. It's misrepresentation of fact of its superlative degree, my lord, which is the reason why I am saying to this witness that when you are saying that the firearm, except for these all other pointers that you tried to investigate that would link accused number 3 to the commission of this offense, the fact that you are saying the firearm was found in his possession, it's your opinion. Because I am basically saying it could be your opinion as per your investigation, because that determination is still being busy with. We have not concluded on that aspect. The court might find otherwise. That is basically what I'm saying, my lord. I'm not so sure whether. So, there's still a lot of evidence that will still have to come, my lord. The court will recall that, and Mr. Ramsipili is reminding me, very respectfully, my lord, that we're also having our own ballistic expert on that issue. So it is very premature. Not only very premature, it is non-existent at this stage of the trial to say that that firearm is linked, that the firearm that was found in possession of Mr. Mube is the one that is linked with the scene where the deceased was killed. I'm just sounding a word of caution, my lord. That is what procedure is all about. I'm not so sure whether I need to proceed, my lord.
Yeah, I'm listening.
I'm done with my submission.
Okay, yeah, right.
Thank you, my lord. The question was, when you say, I'm well aware of the fact that there's been an objection, so I'm not so sure whether the objection is upheld or the objection has not been upheld. But nonetheless, when you say that the firearm that was linked with the sin was found in possession of accused number 3, up until this stage of the trial, that is still your own view in respect of investigation that you had, not so?
Uma uthi wena isibhamu lesi sathola kala kumsolwa wesithathu yiso lesi sibhamu esasetshenziswa lapho, lokho ke kusho ukuthi kusengaphambi kwesikhathi ukuthiwa phecelezi ngesilungu premature, akuyona into esingamkelwa kuthiwe isiyamkela njengento eyenzeka. Kusho ukuthi lokhu mina indlela into engifuna ukuyichaza kwena ukuthi lokhu kuwumbono wakho nje kuphela.
My lord, no. And that is why when I was dealing with this part of the firearm, I've always been cautioned to mention Cleveland 96 of 2015, because that is where you find statements. It's a fact, we've disclosed that docket. And if I cannot refer to statements or statements of the people, of the police officers rather, who found the firearm, then I wouldn't know how to then to actually present this evidence, because that's how investigation led me to Cleveland 96 of 2015. In that docket, statements are made where it is alleged, and I've used this term, but we didn't find each other well with Advocate Mnisi, that it is alleged that the firearm in question was found in possession of accused number 3. For that matter, my lord. Subsequent to us looking at this matter, and when it was tested, there was a scientific report, my lord, that is forensic evidence given to me, which says the firearm seized under this case number.
As it is the court, Brigadier Kininda, are you aware that my question was with regard to the dreadlocks, not the firearm?
No, but it's different now, my lord. It was asked differently. What I was asked now is that I was making my own conclusion to say the firearm that was found in position of number 2 is the one that discharged the bullet that was found at the crime scene. That we move from that part. That's my understanding of the last question, my lord.
Thank you.
And I was answering that last question, my lord.
Thank you. At the inception of my cross-examination to you, really not at the inception, but in the process of my cross-examination to you, you made mention of the fact that you approached towards Sitwala and Madlala. Can I read your paper now? But nonetheless, I think you said you approached him towards Twala and Mr. Madlala with a view to find out from them whether they would be able to attend an identification parade or not, and one of them told you about, actually Twala, who told you that 50-50, he could be able to go there, but it's a 50-50 situation, and Madlala said to you he's not sure whether he'd be able to identify those people, not so?
So khumbula ukuthi wathi wena ukhuluma noMthozi Sithwala noMadlala ukuthi bangaya yini ukukhomba wathi cha hayi kungenzeka bangakwazi ukuthi bakwazi ukuphinde bamkhombe lo muntu akunjalo?
My Lord, my recollection is that it is Mr. Madlala who said 50-50, but the essence of their statements, both of them, they said they were not sure. They didn't say they can identify, but they said they were not 100% sure that they will be able to do it. And statements to that effect were obtained and attached to the docket and disclosed, my Lord.
Statement zatholakala kubona bechaza ukuthi naso isiqiniseko sokuthi bangaphinde bakwazi ukubakhomba. Ngicabanga ukuthi omunye wabo uyena wathi owakhuluma ngalo 50%, kodwa ke i-statement zabo zithi cha abanaso isiqiniseko esiphelele sokuthi sibangakwazi ukubakhomba.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, this is what Mthokozisitwala, the person that you spoke to, says in one of his affidavit. And I'm going to refer you to an affidavit that is marked A113. That was commissioned on the 14th of December 2017 in Durban by Abednego Shibiri. I don't know whether it's Shiburi or Shibiri. Shibiri, yes. 2017. And if I'm not mistaken, I heard you referring to Mr. Shibiri. I'm not so sure if this is the one.
Yes, my Lord.
Thank you. Now, A113. An affidavit of Mthokozisitwala. Now, this is information that we got from the state. Now, in paragraph 6, this is what it says. Let me just check if, just to give a bit of a background, I can't start it in paragraph 5. Okay, let us start in paragraph 5. He says, or let us start it in paragraph 4, actually in paragraph 4. He says from paragraph 4, I hereby wish to clarify, I hereby clarify that the guy who was carrying the firearm, who was at the front when he entered the house, he was carrying the firearm in his right hand. It's very clear. He demanded money and cell phones. I can't remember what language he used. I think he was speaking in isiZulu or Sesotho. Paragraph 5. I can't describe the firearm the suspect was carrying, as it happened fast and I was scared. The firearm was blackish in color. I could see the front portion of the firearm. Paragraph 6, this is what it says. The suspect didn't say much. He just demanded the cell phones and money. The suspect was wearing a hoodie jacket and the hoodie was covering his head. I could see the dreadlocks protruding through the hoodie near his ears. Paragraph 7. He says the suspect's complexion was in between light and dark. He was not more light or darker. I want to state further that when I say a gun or revolver, I mean the same thing. Meaning a handgun, I don't know the different types of firearm. That is the end of paragraph 7. But what I want to take you through there is what is contained in paragraph 6, where he says, the suspect didn't say much. The suspect didn't say much. He just demanded the cell phones and money. Suspect was wearing a hoodie jacket and the hoodie was covering his head. I could see the dreadlocks protruding through the hoodie near his ears. Now, when we received the case docket, having read this statement, did you have a consultation with Mr. Twala, with Mr. Mthokozisi Twala, with regard to this description that is contained in paragraph 6?
ngicela ukubuza ukuthi wahamba yini wayoxoxisana noMthokozisi Twala mayelana nalencazelo elethwa lapha ku-paragraph 6?
My Lord, yes. As I've said, there was a consultation between us and Mr. Twala, and if one looks at his statements, my Lord, he made various statements. This is not the only statements. And if you look at the description, it is not constant. At the end of the day, my Lord, that's what he said with regard to the description, and I don't want now to interpret what he may have said when he came to testify. But yes, during the interview and engagement with him, we did approach him about these statements, but he made different statements. And every time he made a statement to different individuals, my Lord, there was this inconsistency in terms of the description, and we can go through his statement, my Lord, you will find it. The only statement which I took from him directly was in relation to the ID parade. And the issue of the demand of cell phone and money, that was consistent with what other witnesses said, because all of them says when the intruders came in, they demanded cell phone and money in Zulu. So there was consistency. But insofar as the description of the intruders, and it's not only isolated to Mr. Twala. Even if you look at Tumelo Madlala's statement, Zandi, where they made different statements, there's no consistency. What is consistent is that the intruders demanded cell phone and money. One was carrying a firearm, or rather, the one in front was carrying a firearm, and there's a description of dreadlocks. The other description, my Lord, really, they are flimsy, to be honest. They are not, so it's not like a book which has a proper sequence where they sing the same tune. There is inconsistencies, and that is the fact, my Lord.
Ngiyavuma kodwa ngifuna ukusho nakho ukuthi uMthokozisi Twala kusona kuphela istatement asikhipha. Ziningana istatement azikhipha, kodwa ke sikubonayo kulezi statement ukuthi izincazelo azikhipha kulezi statement incazelo ezehlukayo. Kodwa ke mina istatement engakwazi ukuthi ngigcine ngikhulume naye ngaso, sikhulumisana ngaso ilesi se-ID parade. Kodwa ke kuyavela kubo bonke ofakazi ukuthi yebo bafika bacela ama-cellphone nemali, and ngoba wonke umuntu osinika ufakazi usitshela kona lokho. Ngoba kuyavela nakuTumelo Madlala nakuZandi ukuthi ke lo wayengaphambili wayephethe isibhamu futhi wayephethe nama-dress clothes, kodwa ke izincazelo eziningi esizitholayo uthola ukuthi izincazelo ziyehlukana.
And when I say the differ, my Lord, I'm referring to the description. I'm sure Advocate Minister have seen them. I mean, if we go through the statements, insofar as the description of the intruders, you find slight differences. But what is constant with all the statements, my Lord, is that there were two intruders. One was armed with firearm. There was a struggle. That is constant. It doesn't change. There was a struggle between the deceased and the intruders with the firearm, and there was that shot that was fired. And the demand of Zulu, of money in Zulu, that is constant. So insofar as the description, that is where it's not accurate, man. I don't want to say it's not accurate, it's not aligned. So you don't get the same pattern as you get where it is said there were two intruders. One was armed with a firearm, there's a struggle. That is constant with all the statements. The demand of cell phone and money is constant. The firing of the shed and the intruders running away, that is constant. The differences comes in the description, my lord, of the perpetrators.
Engifuna ukuphinde ngichaze lapho ukuthi yebo kukhona lapho into ekhulunywa ofakazi efanayo khona, kodwa ke uma sesichaza ukuthi labantu babenjani kukhona ukwehlukana, kodwa ke uma sesikhuluma ngokuthi babe bengaki bonke bathi babe babili, uma bekhuluma ngesibhamu bonke bathi oyedwa ephethe isibhamu, bonke bayakhuluma ukuthi kwaba nokuzabalisana ukuzabalaza phakathi mufi nomunye walaba ngenini, futhi bayachaza nokuthi lapho ke kwadutshulwa, bayachaza futhi nokuthi bafika lapho ke bafuna ukuthi banikwe izinto ezithize bekhuluma ngesizulu, bonke futhi bakhuluma ngento eyodwa mabethi babaleke.
Yes, my lord, that's my answer.
So the gist of my question is, having gone through this statement, you never went back to him for purposes of clarifying what he's saying here.
Manje ngisho ukuthi emva ukuthola statement awuzange ubuyele kubona ukuthi uyocacisa ukuthi babethini.
My lord, I consulted with him. As I said, these witnesses, my lord, made various statements. I'm not so sure whether one would have created that impression, because my understanding, when you interview a witness, the witness must tell you what they saw. You don't guide them to tell what you think the investigation is going. They've explained on numerous occasions to different investigating officers. Mine was to establish that this is his statement, this is what he recalled, and obviously seek clarities, which was done even when we consulted with the DPP, my lord. Not to guide him to say now, no, this is not in line with, because then you'll be influencing the investigation. That's not how it's done. That's what he said before my time. And when my time came, I took the statement of what he told me regarding the identification, because that's the truth. You want the truth to be presented as they are, not to sugarcoat it, my lord. So what is there, it's how it was, my lord.
Njengoba bese ngichazile ukuthi ke lawo fakazi laba bakhipha istatement nje uThumela Madlalo wakhiphe istatement ezakhishwa lapha zazi iziningana, kodwa ke uma ngiya kumsolo kumuntu ufakazi ngiyobuza umbuzo ngimbuze ngoba ngifuna ukutholisisa kahle ukuthi iqiniso leyini, angiyena ngokuthi ngiyomtshela ukuthi kuyakhona abakhipha ezinye istatement ezingahambisani naloko ukusho. Cha, ngiyofuna mina ukuthola ukuthi uthini nokuthola isiqinisekiso sokuthi yini ayichaza noma yini ayisho lapha, ngoba ekugcineni sizama ukuthola iqiniso.
Brigadier Kininda, yes, ultimately, did you or did you not consult with him on the aspect that I've just put before court that are contained in the statements?
I did, my lord. That's why I'm saying, my understanding, when you consult with someone, my lord, you take them through what they've said, and you obviously try to get an indication of whether there is any other recollection or anything that they want to add or minus, my lord. So that's the purpose of the consultation. So that was done.
Yebo ngakwenza lokho ukuthi ngiyomkhulumisana naye man ukuthi wayetheni ngasekuqaleni, ngoba engifunayo uma ngiyokhulumisana naye ngifuna ukuthi angichazele ukuthi yini ayisho nokuthi mhlambe khona yini enye into ayikhumbulayo noma kukhona yini okunye afisa ukuthi akunezezele. Yikho ngithi mina ngaya kuyena sokhulumisana.
Thank you, Brigadier. You constantly keep on referring to Exhibit HA. I'm sorry. You constantly keep on referring to Exhibit HH and JJ throughout your evidence, not so?
Ushayela ukuthi ukhulume ngombukiso lana HH no JJ akunjalo?
Well, not throughout my evidence, my lord. I refer to HH and JJ when it is relevant. When, for example, I said I had to take that exhibit into account when I was doing the collaboration. So not throughout the evidence, but yes, I've mentioned the two exhibits a number of times, my lord.
Angikhulumi nje ngaso zonke ikhathi kodwa ngikhuluma kufanele ngo-HH no JJ ngikuveze ngoba ngizama ukuchaza ukuthi kukhona ukuhambisana kobufakazi esabuthola.
Thank you. The reason why you constantly keep on referring to JJ, or as you would put it, as and when there's a need for you to do that, is because you want to go and tap into exhibit HH or JJ with a view to find a corroboration that is independent from what HH and JJ are saying, not so.
Ujwayele ukuveza HH and JJ ngoba uzama ukuthi ke ulethe ubufakazi obuletha ukuhlangana ubufakazi obuzimele obuhlukile ku-HH no JJ.
Sorry, my lord, I don't understand the last part, the independent part. So I followed the beginning, but the independent part of your question, I've missed it.
Angikutholisisi indaba yangasekugcineni ukuthi umuthi obuzimele uchaza ukuthini. Owasekuqaleni ngiyakuzwisisa.
Evidence of a collaborative nature, not so. In other words, you go to JJ and HH and determine whether the evidence, which is of a collaborative nature, aligns with what is contained in HH and JJ, not so.
Kusho ukuthi ke wena umuthi ufuna ubufakazi obuhambisanayo, kusho ukuthi ufuna ubufakazi obuhambisana no HH no JJ akunjalo?
Yes, that's correct, my lord.
Adi yebo kunjalo?
Thank you. So basically, it is this exhibit HH and JJ which are pioneering, or which actually are pioneering the motive to further probe in order to find out whether there is collaborative evidence or not, not so?
Ukuthi u-HH no JJ usebenzisa njengamavulindlela okhombisa ukuthi kungaba khona obunye ubufakazi obuvumelanayo kunjalo.
Not only that, my lord. So not only that, there were other factors. That's why I said there were other, for example, the statements of people who had access to accused 3, because we are dealing with accused 3, who gave statements that obviously corroborate what may be contained in exhibit HH. But the collaboration that didn't start there, my lord. The investigation started when accused 1 started making statements, and then we moved from there. And then it then gave rise to the existence of HH and JJ. But where the whole exercise started with the citing of accused 1 and the confessions that he made, and then moving up to HH and JJ. The reason I will always go back to HH, my lord, and JJ when I talk to Advocate Mnisi is it is the presence of accused 3, to say the name of accused 3 started to come into existence or known to us when HH and JJ was then taken, because it was there where it was said these were the other people that we were not aware of, and then we started investigating, my lord. But then subsequent to that, there were statements around. I've mentioned the name of Kwabeni, I've mentioned the name, I think, of Simpwe Butelezi. I won't go to the details, but I'm saying we've mentioned those names because those were statements that were implicating accused 3, so to say, my lord.
Kukhona istatement eziningi eziveza umsolwa wesithathu ngoba uphenyo lethu laqala ukuthi lukhiphe leli gama uma sekuvela istatement singamsolwa ukuqala neconfession eyavela ngoba igama lika umsolwa wesithathu lavela naku HH naku JJ kodwa akona kodwa ngoba khona nezinye ke statement ezinjengo statements sikaButhelezi la kwalavela khona igama lakhe.
Yes, my lord, that's it.
Thank you. You know, on the same vein that you constantly keep on tapping into exhibit HH and JJ, it also dawned in me that I could probably find something either in exhibit HH or JJ that I could use through this process of cross-examination.
Ngibona ukuthi ngibangibheka HH no JJ kuningi okuye ngakuthola engakusebenzisa kulokubuza kwami umbuzo.
Now, when I went through, and the reason why I did that, it's because of your constant referral to Exhibit JJ and HH. Now, when I went through Exhibit JJ on the Ronio form, I noted that there's a number that is annotated there, which was written by Mrs. V. Cronje, which number reads FFC 04415/2020. Now when okay, let me stop there for purposes of interpretation.
Can I please get the number of the FFC?
It's 04415
of 2020.
Of 2020, yes.
Manje ke kukhona ke inamba evelayo lapha kuloku kwabhala uVicro nye le number engathi ijwayele ukuvela lapho uFFC 04415/2020.
Now I'm going to be very sincere with you. I've done a number of or I've been involved in circumstances where confessions and confession forms are done. Then this number actually struck me very strange as to, with the number of confessions that I've done, I've never come across such a number. Then I had to go and listen to the record of the testimony of Mrs. Cronje, and I noted that this is a number that, according to her, came from Mr. Muchiyako.
Sengeke ngala bheka kaningi ama confession ezwa abantu, kodwa ngathi mangihlangana nale number lena yangenza ukuthi ngisole, ngase ngimbuela umfakazi Mrs. Vicro nye ngayolalela ukuthi kuthiwani, and ngathi uma sengilalele ngabona ukuthi ngathi le number lena ivela iqhumene negama lika Mujiyako.
Now, this is just by way of a background. Then I started to ask myself, what could then be the relevance of this number in this confession?
Manje ngase ngizibuza ukuthi manje ke le number lena eqinisweni isisiza ngani kulokwamukela icala okukhona.
And as I'm saying, that was checked by your constant referral to Exhibit JJ and Exhibit HH.
Lokhu ke kulethwa ke ukuthi wena usuthinte kakhulu HH no JJ.
Then I said, maybe this number is related to the document that was presented here at court, which was a confirmation of Mr. Mujiyako's registration with the Legal Practice Council.
Please come again.
Let me put it this way. Then my prosecutorial instincts kicked in. Then I thought, oh, maybe this strange number, that FFC number, could be related to the document that was handed here at court, which concerned the registration of Mr. Mujiyako as a legal practitioner, which was handed in. I've got a copy of that document. It's just that I can't remember exactly what example was it. What exhibit was it, madam? May I confirm with my colleagues just to get a particular example, what exhibit was it? But the interpretation may proceed.
umsebenzi wami engangiwenza ngise umshushisi ngase ngithi angibheke ngathola ukuthi le number leni ingathi ihlobene nokubhaliswa kukaMjiyako njengomuntu osebenza kwezomthetho.
Now, we're still trying to find exactly what exhibit was it. Now, I also had a look at exhibit EE. Okay, just before I proceed, that number, that number that starts with FFC, I went through that document, which has got to do with the confirmation of registration of Mr. Mjiyako as a legal practitioner, and I could not find it. Then I remembered that there was an exhibit that was handed to court here as exhibit EE, which is a copy of a charge sheet that came from Boxbeck. Exhibit EE, it was a copy of a charge sheet that came from Boxbeck. Attached to that copy of a charge sheet, it was also a letter that came from Mjiyako Attorneys Incorporated.
Ngithoma ngibheka le number le ku FF ngakhumbula ukuthi ivela lapha ku charge sheet evela eBoxbeck nase kule ncwadi lena evela kubameli bakaMjiyako.
Now, I also went through that letter. This was just a letter that came from this Mjiyako attorneys, wherein they were informing the court that they were withdrawing as an attorney of record on behalf of accused number 2 in those Boxbeck proceedings.
Ngase ngibheka ke nakule ncwadi evela lapha kaMjiyako ngabona ukuthi oh ila ababezohoqisa ukuqhubeka nokusebenza nokuba abameli bekaMsolwa wesibili phambi kwenkantolo.
I also went through that letter with a view to try and find out what could, to find out if that number, that FFC number, does actually appear on that letter. Despite my fervent efforts to do that, I couldn't find that number.
Ngayibheka yonke le ncwadi ngithi ngizambona ukuthi le number lena ka-FFC iyavela yini lapha kodwa ke nanoma ngizamile ngagcina ngingakwazanga ukuyibona.
Reason being, I wanted to find out what could be the relevance of this number in this confession.
Ngizama ukutholisisa ukuthi ke isizathu sokuba kube nale number lana kule confession kwakuyini.
I note that my colleague would want to say something.
Indeed, my lord. We submit firstly that this is not a question that this witness can answer, firstly, but secondly, Ms. Kronje testified, and her testimony was that this number represents a fidelity fund certificate. Fidelity fund certificate and a registration number. These are two different concepts, and we submit, my lord, that it will be unfair to confront this witness, firstly with this information, but secondly with the incorrect information. You can't compare the two. Fidelity fund certificate is one thing, and registration number of a practice is completely different. So the way that is being put to the witness might, and we say this with the greatest of respect, might be perhaps misleading to the witness, as these are two different things.
Does it please the court, my lord? Probably my colleague was a little bit more in front of me when I'm taking it step by step, but nonetheless I'm getting to where my colleague is getting to, my lord. If I may just be afforded the opportunity to further explain. Now, remember, I'm still trying to find the relevance of this number in this correspondence. Now, I thought, no, maybe that FFC number that was read into record by Mrs. Kronje may be married, it may be linked with that number that is contained in the letter that confirms Mr. Mjiyako's registration with the Legal Practice Council. So then I said, no, but let me not speculate.
Ngitheke ngisabhekile ukuthi le number yavezo Mrs. Kronje mhlambe ke ingabe kunokuxhumana okuthize nalencwadi eyavela ku laba abameli bakaMjiyane kodwa ngathi ke kungcono ngingaqageli.
Because it came to me that when I analyzed this evidence, this exhibit JJ, it dawned to me that this number could not have been written here in vain. There was a specific reason why it could have been annotated in this form.
Wakafika kumina ukuthi le number lena ayizange ibhalwe nje sikhona isizathu esithize esenza ukuthi le number lena ize ifakwe kuleli form le.
May I therefore say, just to quell my anxiety as to the reason why this number was written here, may I therefore request through this court that the investigating team, remember we can do that on our own, but remember we financed by the defense of the accused person is financed by legal aid, which is a subsidiary of the state. So if I request the state to assist, that's no offense. But in short, may I therefore request that maybe probably one member of the investigating team go to the relevant authorities just to put this matter at rest, to find out what this number, that FFC number is, and what is it really all about. Can we marry this number FFC to the number that was confirmed as belonging to Mr. Mjiyako on the letter that confirmed his registration with the Legal Practice Council? This is just my request. Thank you.
Sicela ukuthi ke njengoba ke obakhokhela ke abameli babasolwa abakwa legal aid and futhi bangaphansi ke kumbuso. Ngicela ukuthi mhlambe ke la omunye wabaphenyi ayosihlolela le number lena eqala ngo FFC ukuthi le number lena iphuma phi itholakala phi ukuze senelekise ngifuna ukuthi ngigcine nganele ukuthi le number lena ukuzingene la yayingene ngasiphi isizathu nokuthi iqhumana kanjani nale ncwadi lena yakwaMjiyako.
Now I wish to request that I be allowed by the court, with due respect, to pause the aspect of my cross-examination on this point, pending the outcome of the request that I've made.
Ngicela ukuthi ke ngimise umbuzo wami mayelana nalo leli phuzu leli kuze kufinyelele lapho ke esizothola incazelo ephelele mayelana nalo leli phuzu.
In the meantime, I'll proceed with other aspects of the evidence.
Manje ke okwamanje ngizoqhubeka nanokunye.
Thank you, my lord.
Yes, my lord. So, sorry, before you proceed,
Okay,
as Advocate Minister, I want to say something.
Yes.
Yeah, in light of what you've said. So, the first part, my lord, with regards to HH and JJ, I think it's important to put it in the right context because I think so we are moving to the end of the stick. My understanding is that I've constantly referred to HH and JJ in my testimony, which is correct. But I think the part that is being missed by Advocate Minister is that it is him, when he started with the cross-examination, who took me to HH and JJ. That's how we started. We didn't start directly with the cross-examination insofar as accused number 3 started. When he started with the issues surrounding accused number 2, and they were relating to the confessions. The court will recall that when he started, there was constant hands up by accused 2, instructions will be taken by Mr. Ramsipil, he will pause in his cross-examination, proceed thereafter. The last time when we were in court on Thursday, we even had to adjourn early because the request from him was that he needs to consult with accused 2, with Mr. Ramsipil and himself, so that then proper instructions can be given for him to proceed. So that is where exactly HH and JJ started. So that is the proper context of where it started. And then it then followed, obviously, that because it was now being used, I should refer to it because that's how we started, my lord. That is the first part. Now, with regard to the request that is being said about this number, my lord, I think I'll take guidance from the court or from the state as to whether should I get involved. I would like to assist. As I've always opened my hand to Advocate Mnisi, but the last time the court will recall, when I was asked, and I'm saying that with greatest respect, really, I don't mean to rub shoulders in a bad way. I'm saying it with greatest respect, but I'm trying to avoid a similar situation. I came back to court and I wanted to respond to the request made to me, and then I was stopped aggressively to say, leave it, those issues will be dealt with the state. So I'm not sure whether this request is directed to me or is going to via the state, and I'm trying to avoid us finding ourselves in that similar situation, my lord.
As it pleases the court, my lord, naturally, I would really instruct, request Mr. Kenita to go and do something, or the investigating team to go and do something without the leave of the court. I am basically requesting through the court that we be assisted with this information so that we can also come and assist the court. Look, at the end of it all, what we do here is not for us. Is to assist the court to come to a just and equitable finding. That's just the request. Oh, it has just been indicated, my lord, by the state that they will assist. They can confirm it, my lord.
Yes, my lord, we'll pursue this with the LPC.
As it is the court, my lord.
How does it bind me?
Well, we're just merely saying this in the light of the request by Advocate Mnisi that he be assisted, so we're just offering that assistance.
Yeah, but it doesn't bind this court, okay? Because a trial is an adversarial process. That's basically what it is. So this court can't be advising people to go and investigate whether that donkey's got teeth or not.
Yes, my lord. It's out of courtesy that we're saying because the witness is already under oath.
Because you say you want to do it through me. It can't be done through me. And I can't advise you how to go about cross-examining on behalf of your client.
Yes, my lord.
The same thing with the state.
Yes.
Okay. But if you want to play baseball together, I can't stop you.
As it is the court, my lord, I think me and the state were at Eden that we will be assisted, my lord. We will definitely not involve the court. In an event that we do not get that assistance, we will not come back to the court and say, yeah, but my lord, this is what the state did. I know what state versus Tony Yengeni says, my lord, with regard to an arrangement that is made between the parties. That may not bind the court, my lord. That's very succinct in that case of state versus Tony Yengeni.
Yeah, 1986.
Yes, my lord. Yes. May I then proceed? Now, I'm not so sure. We're left with 6 minutes, my lord. I need to get into a new aspect of it all. I'm not so sure whether I will be committing an offense if I were to request that we step on other people's toes and just stole 6 minutes. We adjourn in advance. We take the 6 minutes in adjournment before 1 o'clock, my lord. Because in any event, I'm starting with a new aspect when you're coming back, my lord. May we then adjourn.
What does the state say?
That's in order, my lord. That's in order.
Okay. All right, let's adjourn until 2 o'clock.